Hey guys, so I thought I'd share my thoughts on Gala token. It's one that I've got into sort of last month, and I'm already down 30%. So not gone so well so far. I kind of knew this was going to be a fairly risky one. So I sort of bought in the 2.4p range and sort of added to it in the 2.2p range, I believe. And then, yeah, it's dropped sort of a fair amount since then. Part of this, I believe, is the sort of tokenomics side. It's the thing that sort of gets the most criticism for the project. So, circulating supply so far of just under 7 billion tokens and a total supply of 35 billion tokens, with a supposedly max supply of 50 billion to be sort of released at a later point. So obviously, there's a great deal of the total supply that is still to come on the market, and this sort of gives a constant sort of down pressure to the token. You get sort of the node holders. You can buy a node and sort of get rewarded for that. We'll come to the sort of distributions later on, but yeah, basically, sort of compared to something like Bitcoin, 19 million out of 21 million Bitcoin are already out there. So the sort of mining sell pressure, if you like, doesn't really have all that much effect on the current price. And that's also why, if you're doing any sort of predictions of where you think the project could be in the future, what you think it could be worth, you really need to use the fully diluted market cap. I see a lot of people sort of saying, it's £100 million project or $125 million project. Imagine what it could be, but then you'll have all of the uncirculating tokens come onto the market and sort of give that sell pressure. So best to look at sort of worst case scenario, in my opinion. Think of it as already a £550 million or sort of $670 million project, and see where you think it can go from there. Now, admittedly, I haven't gone through the pain that a lot of other people have sort of gone through with this, sort of people being much more bullish even at the start of the bear market and sort of into 2021. In the bull market, it sort of rose up tremendously, sort of 50, 60p, and is now 1.5p. So that's a hell of a drop, sort of 97% drop from the top. But obviously, it wasn't at the top for all that long. So, although the volume is sort of high around there, I wouldn't think many people's average is at sort of this level. So, I doubt there are that many people that are down anything like 97%, probably not even 80 or 90%, but still very red, very far worse than Bitcoin or Ethereum. So, yeah, it is what it is. So, looking at the platform, it's sort of a three-pronged attack with games, music, and films. They sort of have a site for each one of those areas, and the games side sort of seems to be basically the largest side. I think you can sort of buy games and you can buy NFTs within those games using the Gala token, and they've sort of they'll show how much has sort of been bought and how much is remaining and that sort of thing of NFT drops. So they're quite sort of transparent on that, which is pretty good. There's some sort of reasonably popular games. I've seen some of these sort of being played on YouTube, but it's sort of still early days, of course. They sort of say, people are saying some of these games would have sort of potential to be into esports and that sort of thing. So there's potential there, but it sort of seems a reasonable platform, and a lot of the games in development could sort of push them to greater adoption. Obviously, you've got Ethereum and Solana, and sort of a lot of the other projects have a great deal of games on their own platform already. Gala sort of be, and you can invest in those games individually with NFTs or the tokens. But sort of investing in Gala is sort of a bit more decentralized, if you like, or sort of diversified, being basically a bet on all of the games at once. So they're sort of trying to be basically a competitor to Steam with the sort of Web3 side and the crypto side. Obviously, being able to buy NFTs and that sort of thing and trade games and yeah, sort of more of an ownership than Steam. Steam sort of used to be, you would buy a game and couldn't even sort of get a refund or sell it back or anything like that. They've now introduced refunds if you haven't played the game. But I think people could sort of really catch on once they sort of see the potentially selling games on, basically selling digital games secondhand, sort of what we used to have with physical side, sort of selling games, trading in games to get a new one and sort of bringing that to digital. So yeah, I think that side's very interesting. So a couple of sort of bullish points that I did see looking through their games. They are getting one or two sort of brand names coming in. Battlestar Galactica sort of official game and a Walking Dead official game. So that seems reasonably bullish if they're going to get sort of big, not huge, I guess. I'm not really a big fan of either, but they're sort of reasonable names coming into quite an early platform. And then sort of the larger games, I believe, are sort of Town Star has been going on quite a while, and Spider Tanks is the sort of competitive one that people think could be getting into esports. A lot of people are excited about Mirandus as well. And Grit, an interesting one, a battle royale game, which sort of brings me on to my other bullish point, is that they're going on Steam as well. So they're a sort of competitor, Gala being a competitor to Steam, but they're also going sort of multi-platform as well, and could sort of get a reasonable amount of exposure by sort of having these games on Steam as well. So this is sort of coming soon, early access. Don't know if you can even sort of even get it on early access at the moment, but that's coming soon. But Superior is sort of properly in early access. You can pay £19.50 to buy it. Mixed reviews. That's not looking too good, but sort of reading a lot of the negative reviews, it just seems to be that there isn't a lot of players on there. So that's a shame, of course, but yeah, I'm sure they'll grow, and this would get better. But I do see it as a positive that they're looking to sort of gain exposure, and if you could sort of bring some Steam people over to Gala and sort of into the crypto side, then yeah, that could be a positive. And each of these games sort of have their own in-game token. So Town Star is a sort of strange farming simulator game. Not for me, but a lot of people like that sort of thing. But they have their own sort of town in-game token, and you sort of use that within there. So you're not sort of play to earning with Gala token. Gala is sort of used for the more high level stuff. I guess it'd be used to sort of buy most of the games when they go live and sort of buy NFTs and that sort of thing. But sort of actually in game, if you're farming, playing to earn, you would be earning the in-game token of that particular game. So yeah, they don't want sort of Gala to be used in game in that way, which I think is probably for the best. So looking at the music side, I am invested in Audius, as you might be aware, sort of streaming platform on the crypto side. This seems more about sort of owning the music, if you like, buying NFTs of the music. Sort of, you can see most of these, 150 NFTs of sort of a track, or splitting tracks into sections and selling each section as an NFT. Seems a good way for the sort of artists to get instant money, rather than sort of releasing it for free and hoping it does well on streaming. A lot of people on sort of Spotify, smaller people, are saying that it's basically impossible to make any money. Sort of in the olden days where 10,000 people or something might have bought a CD, they would sort of do pretty well out of it, even though it's only a sort of small sale. But sort of on streaming, that's practically impossible. If 10,000 people listen to your song sort of a dozen times, you still barely get anything. So I think a lot of smaller artists are saying they're looking for sort of a new way to release music. Basically, sort of, if you're not Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift, then you're not going to be making money on these streaming platforms. So they could potentially with Audius, with sort of different earning models. But I do think this is sort of a potential way to sort of make a bit of money and sort of get it, up front, and you can sort of sell the music to other people. I guess it would be sort of ripped and put elsewhere, and it could be sort of shared for free. There's no sort of getting around that, I suppose. But a lot of people would sort of like to show the proof that they own it. If there's only 100, for example, sort of, and super fans and that sort of thing who like to sort of support their favourite artists, even if they are, I guess some of these are sort of fairly small artists. You're getting some sort of 150 NFTs and they've only sold 26. But yeah, it's potential, and these all appear to be sold in Gala token, so there's potential or demand side for Gala token itself. And you can also buy a node from them. It looks like these are on waiting list now, but they want the sort of running operation of the network to be decentralized, so they allow people to sort of buy a node and host it. You're sort of hosting the service, and you get paid out in Gala token that way, rather than sort of them hosting the bulk of it. They want sort of people to be able to make a bit out of it, rather than sort of just buying and selling NFTs themselves. And they haven't got sort of a huge artist library in terms of sort of big names. They've sort of made a big deal of getting Snoop Dogg and his sort of label, Death Row Records. But they've also got BT, who I sort of have probably seen more of than Snoop Dogg, to be honest. But I don't really, not really into that sort of music. But yeah, sort of seems a couple of reasonably big names, and Snoop Dogg does seem to be sort of probably one of the most into crypto music people around, investing in quite a lot of projects. So it's hardly an exclusive, but yeah, good to have him on board. He's sort of doing the splitting tracks into a load of NFTs and sort of issuing that way. So that's pushing the sort of this space and that way of releasing music forward. And you can sort of integrate them, a bit of cross-selling if you like. You can sort of have the soundtrack of Spider Tanks be Snoop Dogg's music if you've bought that, I guess. So yeah, potential for sort of cross-selling across their platforms, which is good. And he really is pushing the space. His manager has joined the Gala Music Advisory Board, the metaverse home of Death Row Records, if you like. Not quite sure how Gala Music is the metaverse, but I think people are just throwing that title around a little bit too liberally. And yeah, sort of, he's done his Stash Box NFT drop, which grossed $50 million. So that's decent. And yeah, the platform also partnered with Steve Aoki, Kings of Leon, and sort of various other newcomers, which you'd expect it to be a lot of newcomers. But yeah, those two, again, a couple of decent big names. I think those were a little while ago. But all positive. And then looking at the film side, this seems to be sort of by far the smallest of the three from the looks of it so far. Sort of looking at films, and they've basically just got four here from the looks of it, sort of documentaries and a series. But yeah, there's obviously potential for that. So it's going to be a sort of, I guess, a Netflix type um, platform, but I guess they might start having it where you could buy and own the shows that you're buying. Sort of again splitting a show into NFTs and sort of having the producers get that sort of upfront revenue rather than sort of hoping for pennies on streaming. So there's potential there. And I am a little bit skeptical of this sort of watch and earn mechanic that they're talking about, that you could maybe sort of watch content for free and earn the token. Not entirely sure sort of how they would make that profitable for themselves. They're also saying the sort of Gala music listen and earn potential. Again, sort of a little bit, obviously Audius does this as well, but yeah, I'll sort of wait and see how sort of profitable this can be. I can see it being profitable in the sort of gaming play to earn side, but I think people are just getting a little excited about putting sort of something and earn on anything crypto at the moment. So yeah, a little bit skeptical of that, but we'll wait to see what they do. But yeah, some of the people releasing stuff is they do have sort of a bit of pedigree behind them. So the sort of TV series Razor that they're sort of raving about, it's sort of I guess, one of the only sort of bigger things on there at the moment, aside from the sort of documentaries and things. But the director has sort of won 2 Emmys in the past, so that's, as I say, a little bit of sort of pedigree behind them. It's not sort of just completely independent sort of newbies making stuff. So yeah, that's got a bit of potential. But yeah, the film side certainly sort of seems to be the smallest of the three from the looks of it so far. And finally, I guess this is the controversial bit that is sort of making the token go down in price and sort of causing lots of people to sort of make YouTube videos saying it's a scam and it's dying and that sort of thing, or it'll go to zero. Is the tokenomics. So, as they say, total supply is 50 billion, and sort of on a yearly schedule, they basically do sort of a Bitcoin like halving, but every year, except instead of every 4 years. So July 2021 to July this year, 17 million Gala distributed per day. So yeah, what you're looking at, 17, 1, 2, 3, 6. So yeah, 6.25 billion Gala issued sort of in 1 year. So that is rather a lot, and this is sort of distributed to node operators, and half is distributed to the Gala Games conservatorship. So there is rather a lot of sell pressure. Obviously, being 6 months past this date, we're now on the lower distribution amount. So you've now got half that basically to be issued in a year. So 3 billion. But if the current sort of supply is 6.9 billion, then that's basically increasing circulating supply by 50% sort of over that year. Or if we're halfway through that now, so we're going to have sort of another 1.5 billion issued between now and next July, or sort of 1.7 billion between now and next July. So that's sort of another 25%. So it is causing a lot of sell pressure. So you're hoping that this can sort of grow out of it basically, and sort of grow the platform more than the down pressure from selling those tokens. Similar to a growth stock, really, that is, a sort of a very young sort of hyper growth stock that is issuing a lot of shares but also growing. So you're getting heavily diluted, but if they're sort of growing astronomically, then it can still be worth it. But yeah, very different model to sort of, as I say, something like Bitcoin, where the vast majority is already out there. And yeah, just looking at the top holders as well. So there is sort of a bit of top heaviness to it. You've got these are the sort of top holders, and you do have some exchanges here. So these aren't really holders. Obviously, there'll be thousands potentially of holders within sort of each of these. Crypto.com is another Binance wallet there. And we don't know exactly what all of these sort of other wallets are. They could be sort of entities with multiple people, but yeah, if you sort of add up the top ones here that aren't exchanges, then yeah, it's sort of 40 odd percent. So yeah, it's a little bit top heavy. The sort of top address is holding 40% just in the sort of top 15. Some of these could be the sort of team wallets and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's sort of fairly expected. If you look on sort of top holders of a lot of tokens, you'll see sort of similar to this. Maybe not on Bitcoin, but we can't all have as good tokenomics as Bitcoin. There's a lot of them that are sort of a lot worse than this. Sort of your meme coins like Doge, I think, and Shiba Inu sort of have 80-90% sort of concentrated in the top 10 wallets. So it's not good, but there's far worse out there. So basically, yeah, that is the project. It's a high, I think of it as a high growth stock that is sort of diluting you a fair bit every year, but potentially sort of growing enough to justify that dilution. While we're in a bear market, then that sell pressure sort of doesn't do any good for the project at all, and you do sort of get these big sell-offs when there isn't enough buying pressure to absorb that sell pressure, basically. So yeah, I'm 30% down, but this was always sort of a year or two buy. I may be looking to sort of add more. A lot of people would be sort of saying, wait until it's bottomed and wait until it starts going up again, and accept that you won't get the bottom, but sort of at least it's not going to go down anymore. But I just think that's a little bit too much timing the market. I don't think we're all that far away from an overall market bottom. So yeah, there's every potential that you just suddenly get that's it. A Fed rate hike pause. They say that's it, and sort of suddenly these go up 50% or something, and yeah, you sort of think, well, I wish I had been buying at these slightly lower prices. I'm not going to sit here and sort of say, as some other people are, that it's going to a pound or a dollar or whatever. There's sort of potential for a lot more downside, certainly in the next couple of months, if we don't sort of see the end of the bear market. But yeah, I think it's sort of based on a 550 million market cap with sort of the games, music, and film side all in. I think that's a reasonable bet. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. If it's one you'd be interested in taking the gamble of, it certainly is a gamble, high risk, but yeah, if not, what else are you looking to buy? So like and subscribe, and see you soon.